Everyone remembers Leah as the wife Jacob did not love. But the real tragedy was worse. She was inside the marriage and still outside the love story, and this is where the familiar version starts to crack. At first, the story sounds simple. Jacob loved Rachel. Jacob worked for Rachel. Jacob waited for Rachel. This was not exactly classified information. Everyone in that family knew who he wanted. Rachel was the plan. Leah was not. That is already uncomfortable. But then, the wedding happened. There was a celebration, a feast, a marriage, and probably a lot of people pretending this was a normal family event, which is impressive, considering this family had the emotional transparency of a locked storage room. For one night, everything looked finished. Jacob had finally reached the reward he had waited years to receive. Then morning came. Jacob woke up, looked beside him, and saw Leah, not Rachel. Leah. Not exactly a strong start for a marriage. Most summaries focus on Jacob here. He is shocked. He is angry. He realizes he has been tricked. Very dramatic, very awkward, extremely bad customer experience. But the harder question is not just, how did Jacob feel? It is, what did that morning do to Leah? Because Leah did not walk into a romance. She walked into a comparison. Before the marriage even had time to begin, it already had another woman standing in the center of it. Not physically in the room, but emotionally, very present. Rachel was the name Jacob had been waiting for. Rachel was the face he expected. Rachel was the future he thought he had earned. And Leah was the reality he woke up to. That is the part people often skip too quickly. Leah had the title of wife, but she did not have the place Rachel already held in Jacob's heart. On paper, she had been chosen. In reality, she had been substituted. And there is a difference. It is like getting the job, walking into the office and realizing everyone knows the company actually wanted the other candidate. Congratulations. Please enjoy your desk and your emotional damage. Most people think Rachel was Leah's biggest problem. She was not. Rachel was not the battle. Rachel was the reminder. Every silence, every look, every obvious preference pointed back to the same painful truth. Leah was close to Jacob, but still far from being wanted by him. That is why this story is not just about a woman being unloved. It is about what happens when someone receives the position, but not the belonging that position was supposed to bring. Because a title can put someone inside the house, it cannot force anyone to open the heart. Leah had been chosen in the contract, but not in the heart. And somehow, Rachel still was not the real problem, because Rachel did not create the wound. She exposed it. That is what makes this story more uncomfortable than the usual version. It would be easier if Rachel were the villain. Cleaner, simpler, much easier to animate with suspicious lighting and dramatic eyebrow movement. But Rachel is not the main enemy here. She is the mirror. Leah lives in the same household. She carries the title of wife. She is part of the family structure. On the outside, she has the position. The arrangement is official. The paperwork, or whatever counted as paperwork in a tent-based economy, would probably confirm it. But inside the house, everyone knows the emotional order. Rachel is loved. Leah is present. And those are not the same thing. Jacob does not seem confused about this. He keeps loving Rachel openly enough that the tension does not need subtitles. Leah does not have to be told she is second. The room keeps telling her. The silence keeps telling her. The way affection moves around her keeps telling her. This is the kind of comparison that does not need a speech. It just needs to keep happening. And that is where Leah's problem gets deeper. She is not only dealing with rejection, she is dealing with rejection at close range. Every day she is near the person whose love she wants and near the person who already has it. Very healthy household dynamic. Absolutely no chance of emotional complications. Ancient family therapy would have loved this case. From a distance, someone could say, well, she is married, she has security, she has a place. And technically, yes. Technically, a chair in a burning room is still a chair. But having a role is not the same as being wanted in that role. That is the part the simple version misses. Leah's pain is not just that Jacob loves Rachel. It is that Leah starts measuring herself against a love she cannot control. She begins living beside a comparison that never clocks out. It is like spending every day trying to impress someone who already made their choice before the meeting even started. Good luck with that performance review. Rachel becomes the reminder of a question Leah cannot escape. What does she have to become to finally be chosen? And that is a dangerous question, because once someone starts asking it, almost anything can look like a strategy. Be more useful, be more available, be more patient, be more impressive. Maybe then the heart will change. Maybe then the silence will break. Maybe then the person who keeps looking elsewhere will finally turn around. But love does not work like a rewards program. There is no punch card where the 10th sacrifice gets someone's affection for free. The real problem was not Rachel. It was Leah trying to build her identity on the approval of someone who had already given his heart somewhere else. And soon, she would try to earn that love in the one way that seemed impossible to ignore. Then come the children, and this is where the story gets even more uncomfortable, because every birth seems to arrive with the same quiet question hiding underneath it. Will this finally make Jacob love her? The first son is born. Leah sees him as more than a child. He is also a possibility, a sign, maybe even a turning point. Maybe now Jacob will look at her differently. Maybe now the marriage will feel less like a technical arrangement and more like an actual relationship. Maybe now she will stop feeling like the person standing in someone else's place. Very reasonable hope, very dangerous investment. Because nothing really changes. Jacob does not suddenly become emotionally available. He does not wake up with a new personality. There is no dramatic scene where he says, "Actually, Leah, I have completely re-evaluated my heart." No. The silence continues. So another son is born. And again, Leah seems to attach hope to the moment. Maybe now he will hear her. Maybe now he will notice the pain. Maybe now love will finally move in her direction. But once again, the room does not transform. The comparison does not disappear. Rachel is still loved. Leah is still trying to become impossible to ignore. At this point, the situation starts to feel less like a family story and more like a very ancient subscription plan for disappointment. New child. Same emotional result. Then another son comes, and the pattern is almost painful to watch. Each birth gives Leah another reason to hope. Each response gives her another reason to hurt, because the children are not creating the wound. They are revealing how deep it already is. That is the part people miss. This is not simply about motherhood, it is about someone trying to turn achievement into affection. Leah is not failing because she is not doing enough. She is suffering because she is trying to earn something that cannot be manufactured. It is like believing the next achievement will finally make someone see your value. One more success, one more sacrifice, one more reason for them to choose you. And somehow, they still keep looking at someone else. Extremely motivating, terrible for the nervous system. Leah is collecting reasons to be loved, but Jacob's favoritism refuses to update the software. And that is the cruel part. From the outside, Leah's life is growing. Her family is expanding. Her position should be getting stronger. But emotionally, she keeps returning to the same place, still waiting, still hoping, still asking the same silent question. What else does she have to become? And that question can trap a person for a long time, because when love feels just out of reach, effort starts to look like the solution. If she can just give more, become more, endure more, maybe the outcome will finally change. But love does not become real just because someone keeps paying for it with pain. Leah is not failing because she is not enough. She is trying to make love grow in a place where love never took root. And then, with the fourth son, something finally shifts. And then comes the fourth son. This is the moment many summaries rush past, usually because they are too busy tracking the family drama, the rivalry, the names, the tension, and the general emotional traffic accident happening in Jacob's household. Understandable. There is a lot going on, but this is the detail that changes Leah's story. With the first son, the hope was clear. Maybe now Jacob would love her. With the second, the hope was still there. Maybe now he would hear her. With the third, the hope was almost painful. Maybe now he would become attached to her. Different child. Same request hiding underneath. Notice me. Choose me. Finally see me. And honestly, at this point, the pattern is not subtle. It is less family development and more emotional invoice repeatedly sent to the wrong department. But with the fourth son, something shifts. Leah does not speak the same way. She does not frame this child as another attempt to win Jacob's affection. She does not turn the moment into one more audition for a man who keeps looking somewhere else. Instead, she says, "This time I will praise the Lord." And that line may sound simple, but inside the story, it is a major turn. Because for the first time, Leah's words are not centered on Jacob. That does not mean the pain magically disappears. This is not a cartoon where one sentence fixes years of rejection and everyone hugs under soft lighting, while the narrator pretends trauma has excellent time management. Jacob does not suddenly become a different man. Rachel does not vanish. The family tension does not evaporate like a convenient plot problem, but Leah changes the center of her own sentence. That matters. Before this moment, every birth seemed tied to a hope that Jacob would finally respond. Her identity kept reaching towards someone who was emotionally unavailable and trying to pull value out of a locked door. Very inefficient system, terrible return on investment. But with Judah, Leah's attention moves. The story does not show her winning Jacob's heart. It shows her loosening her grip on the need to be defined by it. That is the part most people miss. The turning point is not that Leah finally becomes the favorite. She does not. The turning point is that being unfavored stops being the only lens through which her story can be read. And then comes the irony. The woman treated like the unwanted option becomes tied to one of the most important lines in biblical history. Not Rachel. Leah. The one who seemed secondary. The one who woke up inside someone else's expectation. The one who kept trying to be enough for a heart already aimed in another direction. She is not erased. She is placed inside the story. Jacob never became another man. Leah became another woman. And that is why the title means more than it first seemed. So yes, Leah was chosen last, and yes, she was loved least. That part of the title is not exaggeration. It is not dramatic marketing. It is not ancient clickbait. Although, to be fair, Jacob's household could have produced several concerning thumbnails. The Bible does not soften the situation. Jacob loved Rachel. That preference shaped the house. It shaped the tension. It shaped the way Leah's story began. But here is the point the simple version misses. Rachel was never Leah's real battle, and Jacob never had the final word over who Leah was. That is why the story matters. Because Leah's life could have stayed trapped inside one sentence. She was not the woman he wanted. That sentence was true, but it was not the whole truth. She was rejected. She was compared. She hoped. She waited. She tried. She hurt. And then slowly, the story stopped being only about what Jacob did not give her. It became about what rejection could not take from her. That is the shift. Leah does not get the neat ending people usually want. Jacob does not suddenly deliver a perfect apology. Rachel does not step out of the picture. The family does not transform into a peaceful motivational poster with goats in the background. No. The story remains messy. Very messy. Biblical family systems were not exactly known for low drama and healthy communication, but Leah's meaning expands beyond the wound. That is what makes the ending powerful. Not because everything becomes easy, but because her value survives a situation that kept trying to define her by absence, by what she did not receive, by who was preferred over her, by the love that kept passing her by. And that is painfully modern. Some people spend years trying to earn a love that was never under their control. One more effort, one more sacrifice, one more version of themselves. They keep negotiating their worth with someone who was never qualified to price it in the first place. Extremely common, extremely exhausting, terrible long-term strategy. Leah's story pushes against that pattern. It does not say rejection does not hurt. It clearly does. It does not pretend being unloved by someone important is easy. It is not. But it does show that a person's story can become larger than the affection they did not receive. That is the real payoff. Leah was close to Jacob, but far from being chosen the way Rachel was. Still, she was not erased. She was not a footnote. and that is a very different ending from the one rejection tries to create. Rejection wants a person reduced to one missing love. Leah's story refuses that reduction. She became part of something bigger than the rejection that introduced her. Jacob chose Rachel, but history did not forget Leah. She was loved least by Jacob, but she never let rejection write the final sentence of her story. Which misunderstood Bible story should be simplified next? Rachel, Ruth, Esther?